After my 22 female dad divorced my mom and knocked up his side piece, we didn't have a very close relationship. I would only hear about my half-sister through my grandparents and only see her occasionally when we were both invited to my grandparents. Not my dad though, because he didn't get along with his parents. So when my dad died, I was surprised to find out he'd left me half of his estate. The other half went to my half-sister. What was also surprising is he left me in charge of my half-sister's half of the estate. She was still a minor at the time. This angered my half-sister's mother. She decided she was going to contest the will. I knew if I were left in charge of the money, I would have to deal with her regularly, so I decided I didn't want to, so I didn't argue about it. So the assets in the estate were all sold off and combined with the money left in savings, and I took my half of the money and let my half-sister's mother be in charge of her daughter's half. That was about 2 years ago. My half-sister recently turned 18 and she discovered that her mother used up all the money. So my half-sister is mad at me because I didn't stay in charge of her money like our dad had wanted. Her mom was known not to be trustworthy with money. Nobody said anything about it, but she said it was explained in the letter our dad left me, which I never read. It's not a huge deal because, like I said, we're not close, but still I thought I'd get some outside opinions because I'm going to have to see her in person at holidays at my grandparents' this year. So am I the idiot for not being in charge of my half-sister's money? Edit, it wasn't in court, my lawyer was doing the will stuff. The lawyer said it was a private letter. I didn't see anything like a copy in any of the other paperwork either. Not the idiot. This type of litigation is almost always miserable and I don't blame anyone for not wanting to be a part of it, especially in this case where you have no stake in the game. Your half-sister should be mad at her mother. I'm guessing she's directing her anger at you instead because she doesn't want to start a fight with her only remaining parent. But that's her problem, not yours. Also, any semi-competent lawyer would have told your dad to use a professional trustor, not his barely adult daughter, to administer the trust if he was concerned about trust management. The primary reason someone wouldn't do this is because it costs money, so this is very likely also on him for being cheap. I think either you or the lawyer were the idiots here. The fact that the mother wasn't named as the financial guardian should have put you on notice that your father probably didn't see her as a safe or fit trustee of that money. Otherwise, she would have been the obvious choice. There were ways to address this kind of issue without you having to be responsible for the money, like having the mother appointed but post a bond, having most of the money kept by an attorney or other fiduciary until the half-sister turned 18, etc. Also, you didn't read the letter. That wasn't very smart. I can understand wanting it just to be done with, but that letter combined with the money could have legal implications. Oh, screw off. OP's father should never have put the child he abandoned in charge of her sister's money that she's not even close to. Is OP a lawyer? No. Why should she have to do anything? Why would OP take on such a huge responsibility because her estranged father told her it was her problem? It would be akin to your boss telling you to do janitor work when you were hired for IT. Also, anyone who says OP's an idiot for not reading a letter doesn't have manipulative parents, which is good for them, but they don't get to pass judgment on things they don't understand. Agree. How much extra money and time did OP have to fight the side piece contesting the will? Anyone who calls OP an idiot doesn't understand the system. Also, I think it was really half-sister's mother that wanted to contest the will for this very reason, to take her daughter's money. But that's not your problem either. Your half-sister definitely has a case against her own mother for breach of fiduciary duty. A trustee isn't allowed to use a trust for herself, just for the beneficiary of the trust. She can sue her mom, but that's between them. I have 2 kids from my ex-wife, a son, teen, and a daughter, 20. They're entirely different when it comes to academics. Our daughter did well in school, was a straight-A student, did sports and wanted to be a lawyer. Our son struggles more with school, doesn't do sports, and doesn't know what he wants to do once he graduates. The 2 of them aren't close at all. It was my daughter's birthday yesterday and we had a relatively large party for her. My side of the family, my ex's and my daughter's friends. When it was time to cut the cake, my ex made a speech about our daughter's accomplishments and how she'll be successful in the future. At the end of the speech she said, hopefully son's name gets his act together and gets better grades, which upset our son. Ex noticed that our son was upset and she continued to push the issue, saying that she was worried and that he wouldn't have a future if he kept this up. By then, the party was already tense. Some of the family chimed in and took my ex's side. My son was arguing back and insulted his sister in the process. The party was ruined at this point, which upset our daughter. After the mess ended, my ex-wife came to me saying that we needed to get our son's jealousy issues under control because he shouldn't have ruined his sister's birthday like that. I reminded her that the party wouldn't have been ruined if she didn't mention our son during her speech about our daughter. She claims I'm making things worse. Most of my side and her side of the family side with my ex, saying my ex didn't ruin it by being a concerned mother. I don't see what they're concerned about. Our son is on track to graduate, his grades are just average. But I have all these texts saying my son needs to apologize or get therapy for the insults he said to his sister. Am I the idiot? Edit, after insulting his sister a lot, my ex asked if he cared about his sister at all, and he responded by saying he didn't and that he didn't care if she lived or died. That's why they think he needs therapy. I talked to my daughter recently. She was upset about her party being ruined and she felt embarrassed. She hasn't talked to her mother or anyone else in the family that sides with the mother because she doesn't agree with what her mother did. She didn't know her brother hated her that much. They rarely ever talked, but she didn't think of him in that same way. You're not the idiot, but boy oh boy, your ex-wife is a massive idiot. I likely would have reacted the same way if I were the son. His mother called him out for no reason at a family gathering. How did she expect him to react? She didn't need to take a shot at your son publicly. Of course, he would get upset when she called him out in front of his extended family. You should talk to your son and tell him you're there for him and support him. Oh, I bet she will be shocked when your son goes no contact. Honestly, she is awful. If I were your son, I would no longer interact with her. Time to limit interaction between ex and son. Also, get him therapy because a mother like that leaves scars. Your ex sounds narcissistic and emotionally abusive. Moreover, she's greatly contributed to destroying further the links between your children. She is perhaps even the reason why they're not close, if this is her usual behavior around them. Hopefully, one day when they're a little older and have some perspective, they'll understand their mother is the reason they don't get on well. Sounds like she actively keeps them at odds to maintain control. When the children finally figure this out, they will resent their mother tremendously. Some background. I, 36 male, was married for 8 years and had 1 kid. After the kid was born, I got a vasectomy, which was a few years ago because I'm not interested in having more children. We ended up getting divorced about 2 years ago. I started dating my recent ex-girlfriend, 33, a little less than 9 months ago. When we started dating and the kid conversation came up, I was very clear about not wanting any more children and that wouldn't change. I didn't bring up my procedure at that point, partly because I didn't think it mattered, and partly because I didn't think it was their business that early on. Fast forward to this week, she told me that she was pregnant. At this point, I said the child was unlikely mine and I wouldn't have any involvement in this until a paternity test was done. My reasoning is that she was supposedly on birth control and I, in theory, should be sterile, so the odds seemed pretty astronomical to me. This obviously turned into a fight. She accused me of being dishonest with her, which I guess is a lie of omission and isn't being completely honest. Am I the idiot for not disclosing my procedure earlier? Edit, I do plan to get retested, but I have been tested 3 times already, all showed I was still sterile, so not expecting much change there, but who knows. Secondly, I was on the fence about the relationship for the last month. Even if the child is mine, I don't have much interest in trying to mend the relationship, though I will try to be a good co-parent and apologize for my strong suggestions of cheating. Not the idiot, get a paternity test. My friend had a child from a man who had a vasectomy. It shocked the both of them as she was still on birth control anyway. DNA confirmed the kid was his. They're still together. However, initially I remember her crying because he didn't believe it was his and she felt hopeless in her ability to prove it. I know they did therapy for a while. Oh, one of my friends had a child 18 years after the last child. His vasectomy reversed itself on one side, thus Charlotte was born. Test your swimmers before anything else. It is possible that the baby could still be yours. I can see you saying that your medical info is not anyone's business, but after 9 months of dating, they should have been made aware. You are the idiot. I would be so mad if I were on the pill for no reason. That conversation should have been interchangeable from the get-go. I think that when a couple is discussing birth control and preventing pregnancy, it's time to say you've had a procedure. If she was taking hormones that she didn't need to take, it was putting her body through something unneeded, and birth control is a monthly expense. If you can't talk about your birth control, which on your part was a vasectomy, you aren't ready for intimacy with your partner. My ex-wife, 39, and I, 42 male, divorced about 4 years ago after 12 years of marriage. We have 2 kids together, tween and pre-tween. We live about 30 minutes apart and have split custody, but the kids live with me primarily during the school year because I live in a much better school district. The kids spend 3 weekends a month with their mom during this time. My ex and I co-parent well and usually get along fine. My ex remarried a little over a year after our divorce and has toddler twins with her new husband. She also has 2 stepkids, a young teen and a tween. So when my kids visit their mom, 6 kids are in the house. My kids hate it because they never truly feel like they're at home because their mom's attention is divided so much between all the kids, especially their young half-siblings. They tell me that they never do any activities when they're there. They pretty much always just stick around the house because it's so much work for my ex and her husband to handle that many kids. So I make it a point to do something fun the one weekend a month I have my kids at home. Camping, sporting events, museums, zoos, fairs, festivals, etc. My kids and I look forward to planning and doing these things together. My ex has started asking me if it'd be possible to include her stepkids in some of these activities because they're getting jealous of all the fun things my kids are doing. This turned into an argument recently because I told her to stop asking. After all, her stepkids are not my kids and I have zero desire to build any relationship with them. I told her that the only important thing stopping her and her husband from doing fun things with the kids is themselves. She told me it's a lot of work with 6 kids and I wouldn't understand. I told her it was her choice to marry a man with kids and have more kids herself. That wasn't my problem. She told me it would be a fun bonding experience for our kids and the stepkids, and it would mean a lot to her if I would help her out with that. I told her that making her life easier is no longer something that I'm required to do, and if she and her husband can't handle all the kids at the same time, then I'm more than willing to revisit our custody agreement so I can have our kids more often if that would make her life easier. That made her angry, and she called me an idiot for being petty. I told my kids that they should try to refrain from telling their mom and step-siblings too much about the activities we do together. They didn't really understand why because we've always told them that they can tell us anything, but I explained it to them the best I could. I do feel bad about that part because I want them to know that they can be honest with both their parents, but that seems to be the easiest way to keep the stepkids from getting jealous. What is it with all these people expecting their ex-partners to help parent their current partner's children? Not the idiot. Shut that crap down. You give an inch and she'll take a mile. The demands will never stop. Pretty soon you'll end up with all 6 kids. It boggles my mind that people this entitled exist. Like seriously, what's the plan? Keep mooching off of people who have zero obligation to do so. And it sucks for the kids too, growing up with that kind of person as a parent. Also, what is it with people needing to have more children when they both already have children from previous relationships? Is it a need to do things over? Why can't they be satisfied helping each other co-parent the kids who are already there and desperately need attention because they're children of divorce and likely already feel displaced? It's one thing if you truly have the time, patience, money and love for all of the children, but that's never the case. Your ex is incredibly entitled. You aren't a free babysitting service. You didn't volunteer to be a big brother. If her stepkids are jealous, then it's her and her partner's job to manage their expectations. Instead, she's weaponizing their jealousy to make you feel guilty. That's highly inappropriate. I suspect she doesn't want you to have more parenting time because she worries about paying child support. Sorry for my trailer trash family drama. I, 24 female, was with my ex for almost a year. I ended up getting pregnant because the dummy pill simply didn't work. I decided to keep the baby, and now I have my kindergarten-age daughter, who I love and co-parent with her father. I have a cousin, Miranda, 27 female. She has 3 kids from a different dad, and earlier this year she got pregnant by my ex-boyfriend during random hookups. She didn't stay with him. I'm not just being an idiot either. Everyone in my area knows she's easy. We were at my aunt's birthday, and I wasn't on speaking terms with Miranda because she's weird for that, but she has a daughter my daughter's age, and they were playing together. I look over and see Miranda with her baby, and she tells my daughter, "This is your cousin, but also your baby brother." This irritated me because my daughter is young, confused, and just looking at her. So I stood up and told Miranda not to tell her that, she's too young to understand. Miranda came up to me and said that she had a right to know and it was wrong I was withholding her sibling from her. I wasn't withholding anything. She doesn't understand and doesn't need this confusion in her head. I told her not to bring that up to my daughter anymore, and she called me a witch and continued to say my daughter had a right to know. So I took my daughter and left. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You get to decide when your daughter learns her family tree doesn't fork as much as other family trees. Your cousin is way out of line. Stay away from trailer trash. Oh, if only her dad would stop forking her family tree. You are the idiot for being so judgmental. If she's easy, what about your ex? Or does that only apply to women? I love the blatant misogyny and jealousy that he moved on to your cousin. I'm sorry you were both dumb enough to sleep with this guy, and I'm sorry you're mad at your cousin for doing the same thing you did and keeping your ex's kid. This is, in fact, not nearly as complicated as you're trying to pretend it is. Daddy made a baby with cousin Miranda, and this is him. He's your little brother. Bam. Done. Easy enough for a kindergartner to understand. Agree. Every study on this sort of thing shows children should know these things. A typical kindergartner can understand this, and presenting it as some secret and confusing thing will make it harder for her. That said, introducing this concept to the daughter should have been left in OP's hands. Everyone's the idiot here. Cousin for going around OP, and OP for wanting to keep this from her daughter and being judgmental.